In the top stories, eighth COVID-19 death recorded in the Federation, parents lament the unsanitary state of primary schools in Guyana, and new scientific center in the UK aims to contain future pandemics. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Monday, September 13th, 2021. I am Mervan Thompson. Nationally, in less than 24 hours, an eighth person in the Federation died from COVID-19 on Sunday, after the seventh was announced on Saturday. This is according to the Ministry of Health's COVID-19 situation report for Sunday, posted to their Facebook page sometime after 11 p.m. The weekend's toll makes the fourth since the month started, with the ministry announcing the sixth death on September 9th, the seventh on September 10th, and the 8th on September 11th. Officials continue to urge everyone to continue to follow the established COVID-19 protocols. Some students from schools around St. Kitts will return to remote learning until further notice as of today, Monday, September 13th, in an effort to reduce the potential spread of COVID-19. This was announced via a number of notices that were issued on Sunday by the Ministry of Education, which stated that it was done in an effort to keep the safety and well-being of students and employees. The schools and students affected are as follows. Grade 2 students at Estridge Primary, Form 4A1 at Keon High School, the Early Stimulation 2 class, and the students who traveled on the 2:30 p.m. school bus on Wednesday, September 8th from the Cotton Thomas Comprehensive School. Grade 2 Room 2 students at the Tucker Clark Primary School, Form 1-3, Room 304, and Form 2A6 at the Washington Archibald High School, and all students from the Charles E. Mills Secondary School. The Early Childhood Development Unit will be closed as of today, Monday, September 13th, as well. The Ministry of Education encouraged all parents to monitor the health of their child or ward and the health of family members for COVID-19 symptoms. It also recommended that parents with children exhibiting COVID-19 symptoms should contact their primary care physician or local health department to have them tested immediately. And finally, on the local scene for this newscast, cruise tourism returns to Port Zante on Tuesday, September 14th, with the arrival of the celebrity equinox. Our news camera caught glimpses of preparations being made for this arrival in the form of barricades being erected around different areas of Port Zante, as well as a colorful new #SaintTit sign. During a recent tourism press conference, Minister of Tourism, Honorable Lindsay Grant, said that cruise visitors will be in a bubble at Port Zante and will not be allowed to integrate with the local community. He also noted that, quote, the visitors arriving at our shores on cruise vessels will explore the destination via travel-approved, fully vaccinated tours. We move now to news on the regional scene, and parents in Guyana have made complaints about the lack of preparations and unsanitary conditions of primary schools in East Bank Demerara for a return to face-to-face learning. More in this HGP News report.
Pupils at the Prospect and Covent Garden Nursery and Primary Schools on the East Bank returned to face-to-face learning this week. However, concerned parents contacted this newscast to express their discontent regarding the current state of the school's facilities. One of the parents of a Prospect Nursery School pupil spoke anonymously and had this to say.
Actually, is the yard it have a lot of grass. They could see like to weed it up, like, get the place cleaned up. And they could do a little renovation of the school.
When this newscast visited the schools, there were large areas of grass which appeared to have been sprayed with poison but had not yet been cut. Several pathways used by pupils to access the school's complex were also overrun by large weeds stretching up several feet. It did not appear as though the grass on the outside of the school's complex had been tended to. According to an anonymous worker at the school, there are supposed to be 2 maintenance workers who are supposed to tend to the facilities, but they've not been seen on site since schools have reopened. When contacted, Minister of Education, Priya Manik-Chand, said that she had asked her regional educational officer to investigate the matter. For HGP Nightly News, Melina Harris.
Several hundred Brazilians have called for President Jair Bolsonaro to be impeached. The right-wing leader is trailing former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva by 9 percentage points in recent polls. Elections are due to take place in October 2022. Al Jazeera's Monica Yanikev reports.
Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro is used to having crowds of supporters in Rio de Janeiro's Copacabana beach. But this time, many of his voters have turned up to demand his impeachment.
Bolsonaro said he had 28 years of political experience, but had never been tainted by a corruption scandal. I thought he was the man who could change Brazil. I was mistaken.
Brazil's political movements, both on the right and the left, have joined forces against Bolsonaro, pushing for his impeachment. So far, 130 requests have been made and ignored by Congress.
We decided to set aside our differences as leftist parties and sum up efforts with Brazil's right-wing supporters to fight Bolsonaro, who represents a threat to our democracy.
Opinion polls show Bolsonaro trailing former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva ahead of next year's presidential elections. Many Brazilians who are protesting here do not want Lula back. They were happy to see Lula behind bars on corruption charges. But after seeing Bolsonaro threaten the Supreme Court during the September 7th Independence Day celebrations, they've changed their minds.
September 7th was clearly supposed by the president and his followers to be the beginning of a movement to stage a coup and to close the Supreme Court, or at least oust some of the justices from the Supreme Court. It backfired. He was far more isolated and weakened after the events, especially the rally in São Paulo. And he had to make a strategic retreat to prevent to be impeached from by Congress. And I think that now he's basically waiting for a new moment to invest against the institutions again. And that's why the movement pro-impeachment is growing, and I don't think it will recede.
Brazilians are unsatisfied with rising inflation and poverty rates, as well as the handling of the coronavirus pandemic. With almost 600,000 dead, Brazilian has the second largest COVID-19 death toll after the United States. Monica Yanikev, Al Jazeera.
And internationally, a new research institute has just been launched in Liverpool with aims of preventing future outbreaks of viruses. Al Jazeera's Naif Barker reports.
The bacteria in this dish can kill. Streptococcus pneumonia is a major cause of chronic lung conditions. Scientists are trying to understand how our immune systems respond to infection, with the findings helping our knowledge of other respiratory illnesses such as COVID-19. Also in the lab, ongoing trials of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. This a small corner of the world's first end-to-end pandemic institute, aimed at helping the world prevent, prepare and respond to the worst.
Someone that I know said once, you don't build a fire brigade after the fire has started. And that's what we're trying to do here. We really need to develop new platforms and models, so when actually we get the next virus coming through, we very rapidly can develop vaccines and drugs to tackle that.
There's a huge breadth of clinical, academic and data-driven expertise here. The pandemic revealed huge cracks in our ability to deal with a global outbreak. Time now to strengthen our defences against what could come next.
In another part of the city, the Pandemic Institute's new gleaming headquarters. The project's the brainchild of Professor Matthew Bayliss.
Whenever something is decided about a pandemic, it would have been better to have decided it earlier, and speed really is of the essence. And I think in some cases, there were steps that we've taken in this country which, in retrospect, would have been better to have taken earlier.
The test can be easily used without the need of additional equipment.
Underpinning efforts, a $14 million donation from Innova Medical Group. The US startup quickly became the world's largest supplier of rapid COVID-19 tests, making billions of dollars in government contracts in the process.
We feel that there needs to be a better cohesive response globally to how our economies, countries, and continents respond to the pandemic. We need to continue to make investments into the pandemic research, not only here in Liverpool, but globally at other institutions, which will be a collaborative effort so that we can get other countries and other communities involved.
The Institute will be under scrutiny to ensure work carried out here benefits poorer countries too.
And finally, Indonesia, which has suffered one of the world's worst COVID-19 outbreaks, has seen cases and deaths fall as its inoculation drive got underway. Jessica Washington reports for Al Jazeera.
In Indonesia's east, off the coast of Kanggei Island, this is one of Indonesia's floating vaccine hubs. It's intended to reach fishermen and others who work at sea.
The only way to access this area is by sea. We have faced some difficulties getting here, such as the tide and strong current.
Many of the fishermen here live far from health services and are often away from home.
We are thankful that the police came to sea to give us vaccines because we didn't have the chance before.
Most of these areas do not have reliable electricity.
We use a cool box to maintain the temperature of the vaccine. If we have issues, we also use ice to maintain the cold chain.
The government aims to vaccinate at least 208 million people by the end of the year. That's more than 70% of the population. With its population spread across more than 6,000 islands, that comes with some logistical challenges. These health workers braved heavy storms to reach this village on the island of Borneo.
The only option is to come here via the river, and today it was raining and the waves were strong. But after we saw the enthusiasm of the people, it all paid off.
In the weeks leading up to the vaccine drive, local leaders have been sharing information about the vaccines to help combat hesitancy.
What we know is we can't be afraid of the vaccine. We have to get vaccinated to avoid spreading COVID. And the vaccine is halal.
President Joko Widodo has stressed the need to speed up vaccinations in provinces outside Java to avoid another surge in cases.
After weeks as the global epicenter of the virus, transmission has started to slow and life is gradually returning to normal for many Indonesian cities. Authorities hope the accelerated vaccination drive will allow that process to continue. This month, they aim to vaccinate more than 2 million people every day. Jessica Washington, Al Jazeera, Jakarta.
And now for the weather. Present weather is cloudy with a light breeze of 9 miles per hour from the east-northeast. Seas are not exceeding 1.5 meters or 5 feet. Weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis today will be partly cloudy with periods of increased cloudiness and a 60% or a moderate chance of showers. Tonight will be partly cloudy but with a 50% or a moderate chance of showers. Sunset today will be at 6:14 p.m. and sunrise tomorrow at 5:59 a.m. That brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Mervyn Thompson. Have a great day.